Hello again and welcome to Quest 5. I have a number of videos in Quest 5, so I'm going to try to keep each one short. I likely won't succeed. In this video, what I'm going to talk about is chivalry and courtly love. These were mentioned during the Canterbury Tales, but really we didn't get into them very much. I'm going to go through some of the rules of chivalry, some of the rules of courtly love, and hopefully that'll help these King Arthur stories make a little more sense. Now on your note sheet, the first two questions ask you to look at this picture. So I'd like you right now to pause and answer those two questions. When you're done, go ahead and unpause and watch the rest of the video. Okay, if you didn't pause, then you got to see me stare awkwardly for a few seconds. Now, what I want to talk about today is the chivalric code. It's the word chivalry with IC at the end, so it's chivalric. These are the rules for knights and noble women during the Middle Ages. Now, if you were not a knight or a noble woman, these rules don't apply to you, do they? These were only for the rich and noble people. So, what are these rules? These are the rules of knighthood. Number 1, be loyal and defend your lord and king. Now, this was the rule during the Anglo-Saxon time period. However, it was also about being out for yourself. However, during the King Arthur period, you are serving the king at all times. Be respectful, adore, and serve women. This is a change. During Anglo-Saxons, you really didn't see women mentioned at all, whereas in the Middle Ages and in the King Arthur time period, everything is done in order to protect and serve women. Not all the knights followed this rule, and bad things happened when they broke it. Be merciful, honest, and generous. So again, we're getting away from this selfish idea. Always fight for just causes. I always think that's an interesting rule. I don't know of anybody that fights for unjust causes or anybody that fights for evil, and yet it's always a rule to fight for a just cause. Never do battle with an unarmed man. This is interesting. It is said in some stories that knights would actually give weapons to their opponents so that they could fight them. If your opponent dropped his sword, there was literally nothing you could do about it. In fact, that is the theme of one of the King Arthur videos that a group made last year, The Fountain and the Sword. Check it out. Obey the teachings of Christianity and protect the unfortunate. Now, Beowulf had some Christian influences, but Beowulf really was not a Christian story. He was fighting demons with his bare hands, and I don't think we ever saw Beowulf praying. However, that was what you should have done if you were a knight. Some things to note about a knight, as we mentioned in the Canterbury Tales, they were born into nobility. They would train as a squire when they were a young man until they got to be about 30, so they would be a squire from 12 until 30. They would serve another knight. They had to prove themselves on a dangerous quest. You couldn't just decide you were going to be a knight. You couldn't just buy all the gear. You had to go and do something to earn it. Sort of like Eagle Scouts have to make a large project. You were knighted by royalty. Hint, that's what was happening in the picture that you saw earlier in this video. And you had to swear to protect the king and queen and the kingdom, and then you had to go on adventures. In history, you've probably learned about the Crusades, a bunch of knights going over to the Holy Land and trying to rescue it from Muslims. Why did they do this? Did they need this land? Did they care about Israel? Well, sort of, but really a bunch of knights were bored. They had a bunch of knights sitting around, there was peace in the kingdom, and so in order to give them something to do, an adventure to go on, they went and made a giant war that lasted 100 years. Interesting choices. Alright, I went pretty quickly on that, but that's the nice thing about these videos. If you want to see it again, just watch it again. Alright, let's move on to picture number 2. Now you also have 2 questions that go with this picture. I would like you to pause and answer those 2 questions. Let's talk about courtly love. Now, courtly love, these are the rules that you had to follow if you wanted to be in love as a knight and a noble woman. What they implied is that knights had to go above and beyond in order to serve women at all times. They had to adore women, act in their name, die in their name in order to accomplish these brave deeds. You have these lists on your handout of 15 rules of courtly love. Believe it or not, there's actually about 100 more where those came from. It's unlikely anyone actually followed these rules to the letter. However, these were the social expectations. You had to pretend as though these things mattered to you. What I would like you to do is go through each of those 15 rules and ask yourself if you agree or disagree. We've actually carried over a few of them into our culture today. Some of them, however, have died out a long time ago. When you're finished with that, then you are finished with this overview of courtly love and chivalry. Please share your answers with me for the 2 paintings. I am interested to see what you came up with those. Just share the link via Google Docs, and I'll be happy to take a look at it. Thanks for stopping by, and enjoy the rest of the videos in Quest 5.